जय श्री माता जी। हम सभी परम पूज्य श्री माता जी के श्री चरणों में प्रणाम करके अपनी कुंडलिनी उठाकर बंधन लेंगे। तीन महामंत्र और श्री गणेश मंत्र।
त्वमेव साक्षात् श्री महालक्ष्मी सरस्वती महाकाली त्रिगुणात्मिका साक्षात् श्री आदिशक्ति माताजी श्री निर्मला देवी नमो नमः। Devai Namo Namaha. Om Tvameva Sakshat Shri Ganesha Sakshat Shri Adi Shakti Mataji Shri Nirmala Devi Namo Namaha.
इसी ध्यान की गहराई में, शांति में अब हम सभी परम पूज्य श्री माता जी की अमृत वाणी आत्मसात करेंगे।
You may be quite shocked when I tell you all this. But you can find out on the Kundalini whether it is true or not. The thing is, the Kundalini is the only one which is going to tell you that whether it is true or not. So now, we begin. Let's see. One God Almighty or the Creator, or they call it as Parabrahma. In the Sanskrit language, it's called Parabrahma. First vast escape. So there was nothing. That's not good.
Oh, it's fine. I was going to show it to you.
They like to come to India, they are saying, whatever it is, just find out. And keep contact. And they are going to contact this man, Dr. Maruaha, or whatever. So, it was nice talking to her. She said, you sound very well. How was New York to you? I said, not so disappointing. Last time you remember Tracy was going mad in New York. It's tremendous, actually. It's tremendous.
Mother, you were talking about a rock formation or something with 3 faces on it?
Huh?
Here's a photograph, but this isn't from India, it's from Nevada.
From where?
Nevada. Nevada, which is, it's a state in, yeah.
in Arizona.
Is
It has-
natural?
Yes.
Is Dattatreya. 3 faces, huh?
Yeah.
Dattatreya is simple. It is, this is Moses. See here. ठीक है ये थोड़ा मेरा गला पकड़े Yes, I have some. So nice, you know. So sweet. He's working out very well this side. He's a vibration also. So now we can just in short say that हमको भी दे दो चाय ये तो हम पिएंगे क्योंकि गला जो है उसका ठिकाना है. So in short we can say that the ego was formed and that concentrated point became the Holy Ghost, what you call it. But I would say it's better to call it Holy Spirit. Because you see this ghost business has been taken over by these Jews and they are really exploiting. And they say it's like a witch. I mean, when you get against human beings, when they get against something, they lose all sense of proportion, even against God. They have no sense of proportion left and they think this is their really crusades they have to have like that. Without any sense that you are insulting God. Rustam told me in Greece what they call Rustam?
Who she must
In for Holy Spirit,
Oh, the pneuma in the Bible, the breath.
sacred pneuma.
The holy breath.
So it is that, the breath. You see,
Yes.
that's the breath of God. Now this breath of God, Holy Ghost, or Holy Spirit, whatever you may say, is the primordial mother, the Adi Shakti. In Sanskrit language, you see, it has such an advantage that every word, every consonant, every vowel has a meaning. And actually Sanskrit, it started in, according to, if you read the calculations, according to Tilak, what he says, that it started in Norway. That the mother language of Sanskrit and Latin was in Norway, according to him. That because the Rohini constellation, I don't know what they call in English, is at right angle in Norway. So it started there. And Sanskrit means made holy. Made holy. San means holy, Sanskrit. So out of that mother tongue, they found out through Kundalini movement. Because when it moves, it makes sound at every point. For example, here it makes all the vowels, the 16 vowels. And that's why it was called as Devanagari. Means it is the script of the Devas. They can understand. That's why Sanskrit was called as Devanagari. So now, with this Adi Shakti didn't want to produce or create or do anything about it. She was enjoying her husband's company, so she didn't want to have him. In a very day-to-day language, we can say like that, the sweetness of it. So there's a lasya state in between. Lasya. Is that she refused that she's going to create first. And that's how she came closer to him first. But then he made her, he pushed her. No, you have to. In that movement, this Om was created. Because she was at a point with a circle When she came closer, the circle broke. It was thrown away. The Om was created. Actually, if you see the Kundalini rises, if you can see, from supraconscious angle, you can see the Om on your head here, where Christ is. In that movement, in that sound, Om was created, and that is what Christ is. So how primordial he is. Just after the desire started activating, the first beginning of it, it was pushed into activity, we should say, not yet the activity has started, he was created at that time. That's the origin of Christ. Om. I think you call it Logos or something?
Yeah.
Then the goddess divided herself into these three forms, and she created one son and one daughter. And there is no sex in this word because it's coming from the heavens. You see, it's for the lower people to take to sex to produce for them, and they don't need any sex. And then they were married in the sense that they were given as powers, like passing from one to another. It's all a big story. And all that was formed then, you can say, the three main personalities or the male forces and their powers, the Shakti. They were not their sisters, but we say married because from another mother they got it. It is just to give a combination, because if you have to balance, then if the male is working too hard, then the female balances. That's why a person who thinks too much gets a heart attack. He should really get the attack in the brain, but he gets attack in the heart. This is because of this combination that was created. It's all deliberate, calculated, with complete understanding. So these three formed the three channels within us. The first of the desire, second of the action, and third of the evolution or the sustenance or the dharma, the religion. So the religion, as you see, is the balancing, means our quality. So now we come back to this creation of the innocence. The first one, the innocence is the first logos, is the Om, is Christ. But he first was created as Ganesha. When he came on this earth, he came as Christ. Because he is beyond ego. He cannot have ego. He cannot have super and his wisdom. To represent that, a head of an animal was put on his body. Because the animal never grows into ego. And the wisest of all being the elephant. And also elephant is the only remaining animal. There's a story about that also. Out of the large ones we had, the man-math and all that, out of evolution. So he was made as the symbol of that personality, which was Shri Ganesh. Is we can say, the seed of Christ. Or there's no analogy for it. But we can say that that's the stage, at the primordial stage, and Christ incarnated as a human being. So he had to be a human being. You will see some gods and goddesses shown with 4 hands and 6 hands and 10 hands and all that. But actually that is in the first stage of creation where they were like that. But when they come to human beings, they have to have only 2 hands and 2 feet and a proper neck and a head, otherwise nobody will accept them. So, as it is, nobody accepts, whatever you may try. Whatever you may try, all tricks they try. Nobody accepts, that's the main point. Because human beings think they are the wisest of all. So, it came down. Then we see the second chapter is of seeking started when animals started seeking the food. And while seeking the food, they also started seeking the strong shores of the sea. And that's how they crept out of the sea when the reptiles started, and that's how the evolution started in that area which you see as deep green here, the round area. Now this is the stage where we see how the divine helped us. And he said 10 times the incarnation of the Vishnu, we call it, because Vishnu is the one who gives the sustenance. So the three aspects where the first one, as I told you, was that of the desire, is the Shiva aspect. The second is the activity, Brahmadeva, the creator, aspect of God as a creator. The first as the desire, and when the desire finishes with the destruction. So the first one you can call it as the one who is the desire and existence as well as destruction, because if existence is not there, there is destruction. Negation of existence is destruction. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the activity, which is the creativity, and that is Brahmadeva. And the central one is the aspect of God, which is the sustainer, the protector, or the one which gives us our dharma, is our religion. So human religions are 10. In the evolution, we developed into 10 religions we must have. These are the 10 commandments of the Bible. Bible is all there. Everything is so interwoven. To me, I cannot see the difference at all, because you deal with the present. Supposing I have seen a child growing like this, and then growing like that, and growing like that, and growing like that. To me, the whole personality is the same. In the same way that this void is nothing but in the, you can say, the Mediterranean Sea. That is that void where all this activity took place. This activity took place because there were 10 main, these great prophets were born. And these prophets are the people who are made out of the innocence of these three aspects of God. The innocence of these three aspects of God is made into a personality called the Dattatreya, or the primordial master. He comes on this earth again and again. Especially 10 are the main incarnations. So he comes again and again on this earth to tell people about their dharma, their religion, their capacity, their quality. That's their job. That's why Moses did not talk of an ascent. But that doesn't mean Moses does not play any part. But one can ask a question, that why? Why the balance? Why did he talk of the balance? Why did he talk of the 10 commandments? For what? I mean, every intelligent man must ask. Every Jew must ask, for what? Because without balance, you cannot ascend. I mean, even an aeroplane has to be a balanced thing to ascend. Anything, I mean, even if we are walking, we have to have a balance. So to establish the balance within us, these people came again and again, these 10 primordial beings. Some on the left hand side, some on the right hand side. It's very symbolic. The whole thing is so wonderful. So now we can say who they were. From the very beginning, we can say Socrates, Moses, Abraham, Lao Tse, we had Muhammad, Nanak, Janak, and the last of all was Shirdi Sai, the one who lived in Shirdi. He is the last incarnation who came. After Muhammad, Nanaka came. After Nanaka, Shirdi Sai. All these are the one and the only one principle of primordial master who came and they all said the same. First of all, they were against alcohol, against any kind of a intoxication. But say at the time of Moses, they didn't have cigarettes. You see, so he didn't say about cigarettes. Naturally, they didn't have. So the people who follow Moses think there's nothing wrong in cigarettes because he didn't say. But that time there were no cigarettes, you see. All these sinful things were devised afterwards. So they didn't say prohibited. Now I don't know what other sins people are thinking about. That whatever I see, I say that don't do this. Supposing you ask me, I'll say don't do this. But tomorrow one may say that Mataji didn't say that don't do this. Because you see, human beings are good at finding out things by which they destroy themselves. They are experts, you see. How to find out things by which your dharma is destroyed. So whatever at that time, whatever they thought was good, they said don't do it. Like Muhammad Sahib said that now I will not come anymore, is the last prophet, because he thought he's done the job. But then he found that they are fighting and they are not at all bothered about their ascent or their balancing, but they are going to the other extreme. So he incarnated again as Nanaka and then as Shri Saida. So these incarnations exist within us. They exist within us. Now if you have to take the case of a person who suffers, say, from stomach cancer. I had exactly this case from Iran, who suffered from cancer of the stomach. So I told him, will you believe that Muhammad Sahib was the same as Moses? Imagine, what a great challenge for a Muslim to say Moses and Muhammad Sahib were the same. He said, no, never. I can't believe it. How can that? I said, but Muhammad Sahib himself said that they are the same, they are all Paigambars, so why don't you believe it? He said, but they were not the same. I cannot believe. I said, I cannot cure your cancer. Because you are a fanatic, that's why you have got a stomach cancer. So you have to accept that they were the same. But he would not, So he went back home and they went to the hotel again. They had come all the way from Iran. So the wife said, now will you please get all right? He was very sick, he was dying. Doctor said he was going to die. He came to me and he said, all right, mother, I accept. I said, now you say that again and again. And that is the mantra for that Muhammad, I know that you were Moses. This is a simple mantra you have to say. And he got cured. He went back to Iran. He is still there, living, existing. So this is what it is. All these 10 are there. And now imagine the Jews fighting the Muslims. Why I was so much in a fury yesterday? Because I just can't imagine. How can they do it in the name of God, in the name of the prophets who incarnated, the same person incarnated? So now the evolutionary part is that the incarnations came on this earth. 10 incarnations, as I told you. The 10th has to come still, we can say, or is there in a way. The incarnations came in, and the first one was the fish which remained on this earth to guide till we had the great deluge. It was he, that fish only saved that ship from getting drowned. The same fish stayed on the incarnation. After even it had incarnated, it stayed in the sea water, even when this thing happened, that he tried to save that incarnation of his universe. So we start from fish in incarnation. First is the fish. The second is the tortoise, the reptile which walked out. But the leader has to come. Somebody has to lead human beings. If you do not get the leader, they do not venture into it. Normally they venture into all darkness. never onto the right side. This is what is the original sin, which also we should understand. In the Christian mythology, they talk of the original sin. The original sin was committed because of the same style the human beings are, that God created human beings, like Adam and Eve, symbolic. Now, He gave them freedom, but innocence was there, and He told them, keep in innocence, there is no need to destroy your innocence and try to know something. If you are innocent, obedient, and if you remain as you are, you become the spirit. But in freedom, you must live. You must have freedom. Because without freedom, how can you get the supreme freedom? So you have freedom. He gave them freedom. The animals are not. They are pashu. They are in the pash. Pash means they are in the bondage. They are not free. Human beings are free. If you want, we can be a scorpion. We can be a lion. We can be an elephant. We can be an elephant. So this freedom was given and was told that don't eat the fruit of knowledge. Now this fruit of knowledge was what this knowledge is, avidya, that we know of, like creating atomic form. We drifted onto this. There was no need for us to know. And this, when we started knowing, where are we? At the brink of destruction. By knowing how this world is made and what are the things and about the science and all that, we reached a point where we thought we can now use this. And we are using it for our destruction. But the idea was different. First it was to be innocent, to become the spirit, and then to know about these things so that you have the wisdom. So the whole thing failed at that point. That's why it's the original sin people talk of. That's the original sin. If we had waited, we had become spirits, and then we had seen to what all knowledge is. You are different. Then you use it for the purpose of the betterment. Like in India, you'll be surprised, long time back, Rama had an aeroplane which is described, had 365 or 385 gadgets, which none of the modern things have. But he did it the other way around. You see, he had the other way around. That first you become the spirit and then you know these things and handle them which you want. So what happened? The first we cut off our innocence. That's the first root. And the root, that is the support of the roots. It is described, Mahavishnu is described as the support of the roots. So we cut him off again. So this problem started then, that you had to send human beings as incarnations. To first of all, to give you the balance, is 10, and also incarnations, ascend. To give an awareness by which you come to a point that you start understanding that there is spirit beyond this knowledge and that you have to achieve that spirit. So at the time, first time, the incarnation as a human being came on this earth, as we say, of this sustenance was of Shri Rama. But before that was Vamana Avtara, which is the short one. A very short. First the man was created as a short man. He is the first one as Vamana Avtara. And that one came as a leader. The first one was Vamana. And he was given the power. He was given the blessings that he can spread into 3 worlds. So into the higher worlds, into the lower worlds, and into the center. That's how human beings got distributed into these 3 worlds. And a big problem started. Like the house that goes wild, Then it goes amok. Then you have to get everything collected, put them right. The original sin is the big problem. The biggest problem was that. Now to solve it up, one had to do all these things. So first the Vamana Avtara came. After the Vamana Avtara came the incarnation of a very tall and hefty man. That was Parshurama. I don't know in the Greek philosophy if Zeus was Parshurama, because it sounds like Zeus. Because Parshurama is contemporary of Rama himself. Because somebody had to announce. You see, it is necessary that somebody must announce the advent. At that time it was necessary. So Parshurama came. The tall and hefty man who came on this earth, maybe Zeus is called. I mean, they are so confused that you see to relate this to that is another confusion. I don't know how, but looks like Zeus. But he is the incarnation of this sustenance force within us, sustenance force. The one that gives us religion, the one gives us assent. So he came on this earth, you can say, at the same time as Rama came. And then he appeared on the scene at a point where Rama tried to break the bow which was given by Parshurama. And Parshurama wanted to find out the incarnation. So he gave this bow to a king whose daughter was Sita. She was the central power of Mahalakshmi. She came on this earth as the central power of Mahalakshmi. Later on she incarnated as the mother of Christ. Same thing. Mother of Christ is nobody else but she is Mahalakshmi. She is Mahalakshmi. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it that she is Mahalakshmi. But how will you know? When I see she is Mahalakshmi, I will be shocked, that's all. But she is the power of that, complete power in her came. Now it is described in the Puranas. If you read, there's a book of Markandeya with which people should go, how Mahavishnu was created by Radha, who was the second incarnation of this. First came Sita, then came Radha, and then came Mary. These are the three human incarnations of that force which is Mahalakshmi. On this. And only this one incarnates, this force, sustain us, because it has to raise you. This only incarnates, not the Shiva, he never incarnates, that's why Sadashiva is never incarnate. And the left side one has incarnated only, we say once or twice. Once, of course, as the son-in-law of Muhammad Dham, just to support him in Ali. And his wife, that was later on, his wife was also the same Mahalakshmi, the daughter of Narayana. She incarnated also like that. So in the main, they are worshipped as three persons in India, as I told you. As first as Sita, and then as Radha, and then as Mary. In India, Mary is worshipped also, three persons. But otherwise, she incarnated as Fatima. And she also incarnated as Nanaka's sister, as Nanak. But because they were at a potential level, they were potential at that time, so people do not know much about it. Even Mary was potential energy. She was not kinetic. But the reason why Christ never talked about her directly was that because the play of crucifixion was a very important play. And if by any chance he would have said that she is the incarnation of Mahalakshmi, the whole destructive force would have been against her, and then he would have come out with his own 11 destructive forces. And the whole drama would have fizzled out and the whole world would have been in a delay. So just to stop that, you see, this was kept a secret, that she is the one who is the incarnation of Mahalakshmi. My father was a great realized soul, as you know, and a great master of Bible and he knew 14 languages, he translated Quran Sharif into Hindi. Still his book is not published, I don't know why. And a very big master on religions. He was actually my guru as far as human beings were concerned. He told me about human beings, how they were. And he told me that till you really develop the thing for which you are here, our mass evolutionary process, don't talk of God. Don't talk of anything, because again you will create another Bible and another religion will start and all the nonsense will start. So better shut up till then. And really I did that as he told me. So he told me, my father told me, that in Christianity when Martin Luther came, he was a realized soul, no doubt. But he thought that at that time the force that was attacked in Christianity was Islam. And he wanted to get Islamic people into Christianity. So it was a political move by him, because he was just a realized soul, he was not an incarnation, so he tried just. So to put that right, what he said, that better not talk of the mother as an incarnation or a mediator or anything as such. So he just said she was a woman. They did not respect. He did not show any special significance, but he did not disrespect her. But others who followed him disrespected that she doesn't exist as far as that. So this is what it is, you see how even the people who are realized souls can create a thing just to adjust to the present, and then how these problems come. Like Muhammad Sahib had to adjust also to the present, though he was an incarnation. But at that time so many women were left out and men were killed, and there were very few men and many women. So there could have been illegitimate relationships and marriages would not have been there. So he said, all right, you can even marry 5 wives. But you marry means you must have a collective sanction. That was the point. You must have the collective sanction. And because of that, when he said it, now every Muslim thinks he must marry 5 times, otherwise he is not a Muslim. This is human nature, to put everything opposite. I don't know how they see things. The brain, you see, is upside down of a human being. And he sees everything from another angle. Somehow or other he manages. So this was they did, Muhammad. So many things they have done that I am myself amazed sometimes to see how they have accepted all these wrong things. So that was what happened at the time of Muhammad Sahib. He had to say many things. Even to this extent that you see, to marry a young girl, say in India, is regarded as sin. Absolute sin. Anybody who marries a young girl is regarded as sinful. In tradition, it is absolutely wrong to marry a very young person to you, who is could be less than your daughter's age or something. But even to overcome that, he said, all right, I'll marry a girl who's very young so that you forget about it, because he didn't want the greater sin that illegitimately, like prostitution, is. So to solve the problem, at that point he said this is to be done. But like when there's an emergency, you create a boat to cross over, but you don't carry that boat on your head when you have reached the shores. You see, that's what human beings are. They'll carry all the boats on their heads and say that we belong to this boat and we belong to that. That's the speciality of human beings. And they will fight for the boats, you see, which are of no use. And they will not feel the grounds where they have reached. That's the problem. Alright. So now here at the void point, it's very important to see that Sita, who was Mahalakshmi, came on this earth. And she gave birth to 2 twins called Love and Kush. 2 children she gave birth. They were human beings who were created by her. It's a very unique thing to create human beings. She created 2 human beings called Love and Kush. Now these 2 human beings were to occupy 2 positions in the head here. From here to here. So they had to ascend. So the ascent was worked on these 2 persons throughout. So we can say they are the principle of the disciple. They are the principle of the disciple. And the principle of the disciple was worked in such a way that they occupy this position and this position when they cross. The love and push in their lifetime. Now this is another story which is now being proved, which I told long time back. One of them, he was little annoyed with the father because the father had deserted the wife for certain reasons. The father, though the incarnation, forgot about his incarnation, was made to forget his incarnation and became the incarnation of a benevolent king. He is the symbol of benevolent king. And that's how the idea of benevolence in a king first came into the head of human beings through his incarnation. It is he who charmed, or we can say the enlightened, the awareness of human beings, of understanding that the king has to be benevolent. This happened 8,000 years back when Sri Rama came on this earth. And to show how a benevolent king should be, he forgot that he was the incarnation. He lived like an ordinary king, behaved like an ordinary king, with all his ordinary feelings and all that. It was like a human realization he got. And he acted as a benevolent king. This is Rama's incarnation. Then he had these two children, Love and Kush, and in their lifetime, when they came back from their exile, he offered his kingdom to these children. That is also the father's position. He was the father. The father's position is that of Sri Rama, what we call as right heart. Have you got the Kundalini book in there? You better go through that also, the right heart. The right heart is the Rama's place, Rama is there. And he had these two children, Love and Kush. And they went to, the Kush went to China and Love went to Caucasus side. So the Russians are called as Slav because he was Love, so he was called Slav. Sah, Love means with. Sah means with. Love is the one who went to the right side, to Russia. And Chinese are Kushans. So you can imagine these two twin brothers are now fighting among themselves. I mean, ultimately, if you follow the history, you find that the two twin brothers are fighting among themselves. This is the history. The historical ascent is like this, or we can call it the descent. So that is what happened to both of them. Now, they were reborn again on this earth. Later on, much later, as Buddha and Mahavira. Same. They are the principle of moon and sun, are the principle of disciple, because these two centers are in the world. So then they became Buddha and Mahavira. At this stage, they became Buddha and Mahavira. But they found out after their death that Buddhists were another nonsense and these Jainis was another nonsense. You see, because these human beings create such problems that the same incarnations think, what did I tell them and what are they doing? So they are born again. So they came back again as the two children of Fatima Bi, who was again Sita ji, of her as the grandchildren of Muhammad Sahib. And they then taught that you have to fight with weapons the evil forces. And they died in Karbala. So this violence of Buddha which was preached, non-violence of Buddha and non-violence of Jainas, these Mahaviras, non-violence, was of such an extreme nature that both of them took on this earth their birth to prove that it is essential, that you have to fight, and this is not the non-violence of the weak. Now the non-violence of the Jains is so horrible. They are vegetarians. Vegetarianism was never preached by them, because Buddha himself died because he ate the meat of a wild boar which was half cooked. So I mean, he was not a vegetarian, but he talked of the non-violence of the human being. You see, we are violent to other human beings, but we are very careful about the cats and dogs and the bugs and the mosquitoes, and we are trying to save the chickens. Now you tell me, am I going to give realization to chickens? Human beings are wonderful. They create atom bombs to finish off most of the human beings, And here they'll try to save chickens. Chickens. You see, tell me this human brain, what is it like? I just don't understand. That how can you think of such a vegetarianism? But these absurd ones have another limit, that they put a cloth on their mouth. They do not breathe any things like any creatures which may be hanging around in the atmosphere. But the worst is they do is to get a Brahmin, you see, pay him some money. They give him some money and they put him in a hut, get all the bugs of the village, put the bugs in the hut, and the whole night the bugs eat the fellow, take his, suck his blood, and when they are full they fall off. Then he comes all exhausted, and then they give him more money. This is the Jainism. And if I tell you even greater things that they do, you won't be able to eat your food. They go up to the bathroom part. There also they try to save these bugs and things like that. Imagine what Mahavira must have thought. He talked of all these things in the hell, and they are repeating it. Whatever they said, they just do the opposite. I tell you, just the opposite of that they have done. Everywhere, every religion they have done just the opposite. Like Hindus were told that the spirit resides in everyone. That the caste is a jati, is the innate aptitude, is born aptitude, not according to your karmas, not at all according to your karmas. You see, these people talk, ask them such questions like, who was the writer of Gita? Do you know who was he? Writer of Gita was Vyasa. And who was he? He was the illegitimate child of a fisherwoman who was a scheduled caste. Imagine, how can he write that your birth, according to your birth you get your jati? How can he write a person who is not like that himself? Terrible. But look at these Hindus, horrible people. How they have made these jatis, see, the Brahmin. They are all Rakshasas, I tell you. All the Brahmins of India are Rakshasas sitting in the temples. Absolutely devils. And some of them in Kashi are the Romans who disappeared in the thin air. They are settled down there. You see their faces, they are absolutely Romans. These horrid Romans who ran away from Rome are settled down now in Benares. You can go and find out. They are the same people. If you see their blood, you will know that the same people, the Romans who disappeared from Rome. First day I went to Benares, I knew they were who. Well, I wouldn't go inside the temple of Kashi Vishweshwara, though it is a very big temple of the Shiva. I said, I will not enter into this temple till somebody gets rid of me. And you know, within 8 days, the government took over the temple. The next time when I went inside the temple. It's like that. They are all devils who are sitting down in the temple. Absolutely doing tantrism. And nowadays the business is to sell marijuana and all that to the foreigners who are coming. You can only get them in the temples of India. Can you believe it? And that is against dharma. Because intoxication goes against your attention, and in that part is your attention which is looked after by your liver, sustained by your liver. This goes against the liver. It's very simple. You see, recently there was a Sir Yogi who wrote a thesis on alcoholism. He got his thesis, he is a PhD, and I mean, of course, I gave him the little point, what happens to the OH ion in the water when you take this alcohol. See, OH ion, H2O is like this. It is in a normal way. If it is like this, then oxygen is in the center, hydrogen here and hydrogen here. That's all right. Then the water can carry the heat from the liver, which is given out when you feel the heat in the... Heat is nothing but is the poison of the body, and it is carried out. But when the liver goes out, you never get the temperature. And the OH ion, just instead of becoming like this, it becomes like this. And it is facing the liver like this, it cannot receive. But with vibrations, what happens? It becomes like this. So it is. And that is what it is, was they were all against all intoxications, all wines, everything. Now to say that Christ gave wine to people, of now that day, you see, wine means, rakshasa, means the essence, the grape juice. You see. Is there any other word for grape juice in those days? That's the only word they use. You see, the words, the way they have twisted for their own things. The grape juice is the only juice used in that country because that was available. And another thing was that it was a very hot country and people used to drink a lot. Anywhere you go into Uzbekistan, I have been to. Morning till evening, they are drinking nothing but grape juice. Grape juice is the main drink they have, the only drink. They didn't have Coca-Cola in this. You see, symbolic that unless and until you have symbolism explained, they will never understand. You see, it doesn't mean bread which is baked in these horrible bakeries. How can that be his body? You see? Body was made out of mala, as I told you, the matter. And he was the essence of the spirit. The essence of the Mother Earth came into the grapes and was taken out, and that is the essence. So from the Mother Earth you have to come to the essence. That's what he was saying. But hardly he had 3.5 years somehow, you can say. How much one can do in 3.5 hours? He did such a lot, I can't do so much, I can tell. 4 years I was struggling in England with 7 Sahajogis. 4 years. In 3.5 years, I must say he did a lot. But whatever he did is neutralized. Because of the shortage of time, because people never went into any subtler understanding in a gross way. If you treat a subtle personality, you won't understand. If you try to treat me in a gross way, then I am wife of such and such and this and that and that and that, it has no meaning at all. I mean, it is nothing. It's something so much outside. You see, you have to be somewhere. You have to be born somewhere. You have to be somebody's wife. You have to be something somewhere, you see, to be a human being. But has no meaning. You must see to this. And that's what we have missed in the life of God. So,
अब हम सब परम पूज्य श्री माता जी की आरती करेंगे।
सबको दुआ देना माँ, सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी, दिल में सदा रहना माँ, सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना माँ, सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी, दिल में सदा रहना माँ, सबको दुआ देना। जग में संकट कारण कितने लिए अवतार माँ, कितने लिए अवतार। विश्व में तेरी महिमा, विश्व में तेरी महिमा। तू गंगा यमुना माँ, सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना माँ, सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी, दिल में सदा रहना माँ, सबको दुआ देना। जो भी शरण में आया सुख ही मिला उसको माँ, सुख ही मिला उसको। बैठ के दिल में ओ माँ, बैठ के दिल में ओ माँ, लौट के ना जाना माँ, सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना माँ, सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी, दिल में सदा रहना माँ, सबको दुआ देना। मानव में अवतर के कर दिया उजियाला माँ, कर दिया उजियाला। कलयुग में माया है, कलयुग में माया है, फिर भी पहचाना माँ, सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना माँ, सबको दुआ देना। जय निर्मल माता जी, जय निर्मल माता जी, दिल में सदा रहना माँ, सबको दुआ देना। संत जनों की धरती है भारत माता माँ, है भारत माता। इस धरती पर आकर, इस धरती पर आकर दुख से दूर करना माँ, सबको दुआ देना, सबको दुआ देना माँ, साक्षात् श्री महालक्ष्मी सरस्वती महाकाली त्रिगुणात्मिका कुंडलिनी साक्षात् श्री शक्ति माता जी श्री निर्मला देवी नमो नमः। त्वमेव साक्षात् श्री कलकी साक्षात् श्री आदिशक्ति माता जी श्री निर्मला देवी नमो नमः। त्वमेव साक्षात् श्री कलकी साक्षात् श्री शक्ति माता जी श्री निर्मला देवी की जय।